As I pulled into the driveway of the old house, a shiver ran down my spine. The place looked even more dilapidated than I remembered. The paint was peeling from the shutters, and the once vibrant garden had turned into a wild tangle of weeds and overgrown bushes. I took a deep breath, trying to shake off the unsettling feeling that had settled in my gut. "This is just a house," I told myself, glancing at Jasper, my cat, who was perched on the passenger seat, his amber eyes wide and alert. "Just an old house." Jasper stretched out and let out a low meow, as if sensing my anxiety. The sound echoed inside the car, and I could almost swear he was trying to comfort me. "All right, buddy," I said, ruffling his fur. "Let's go see what secrets this place holds." I opened the door and stepped out, the gravel crunching under my feet. A gust of wind rustled the trees, and I felt a chill that seemed to seep into my bones. As I approached the front door, I hesitated. The wooden door was slightly ajar, creaking softly as it swayed in the breeze, inviting me into the darkness beyond. I pushed it open and stepped inside, instantly enveloped by the familiar scent of dust and aged wood. The air felt thick, almost like it was charged with something unexplainable. Jasper slipped past me, darting into the shadows. "Jasper, wait!" I called out, but he was already gone, his curious nature leading him deeper into the house. I followed, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The living room was a museum of memories, with faded photographs hanging askew on the walls and furniture draped in dusty sheets. It was as if time had stood still here, preserving the echoes of laughter and whispers long gone. "Do you feel that?" I whispered to Jasper, who had settled in the corner, staring intently at an empty space. He flicked his tail, his ears twitching as if he were listening to something I couldn't hear. "What's gotten into you?" I murmured, moving closer to him. I crouched down and followed his gaze, but all I saw was a wall, covered in peeling wallpaper, the patterns barely visible beneath the grime. I pushed myself up and wandered further into the house, the floorboards creaking underfoot. Each room I entered felt like a portal to another time. In the dining room, the table was set for a feast that would never happen, the plates gathering dust as if waiting for guests that would never arrive. In the kitchen, the remnants of a life once lived lay scattered. An old teapot, a cracked mug, and an apron hanging on a hook, all telling stories of days filled with warmth and laughter. "Did someone live here, Jasper?" I asked, half expecting an answer. "What happened to them?" My voice echoed in the silence, and for a moment, I felt as if the house itself was listening, holding its breath. As night began to fall, shadows danced across the walls, and the atmosphere grew heavier. I decided to settle down in the living room, hoping to find some comfort amidst the unsettling energy. I grabbed a blanket from the back of the couch and wrapped it around my shoulders, trying to fend off the chill that had settled in the air. Jasper curled up beside me, his purring a soft reassurance. Just as I was starting to relax, a faint sound reached my ears. A whisper, soft and indistinct. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. "Did you hear that, Jasper?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He lifted his head, ears perked, and stared into the darkness. The whispers grew louder, swirling around me like a haunting melody. Slowly, I stood up, the blanket slipping from my shoulders as I followed the sound. Each step felt heavy, as if the house itself was trying to hold me back. I moved through the hallway, where the whispers seemed to beckon me forward, leading me deeper into the shadows. Jasper trailed behind, his fur bristling, and I could feel his tension in the air. "Stay close," I murmured, glancing back at him. "I don't like this." He meowed softly, as if urging me to turn back, but the curiosity within me was stronger than my fear. I pressed on, drawn by an invisible force. The whispers led me to a small room at the end of the hall, its door slightly ajar. I hesitated, my heart racing as I pushed the door open. The room was dimly lit by the moonlight streaming through a cracked window, illuminating dust motes that danced in the air. Jasper darted past me, his eyes wide and alert. He stopped in the corner, where the shadows were thickest, and sat down, staring intently at the darkness. "What is it, boy?" I asked, my voice trembling. I stepped further into the room, straining to hear the whispers, but they had faded into silence. Then I noticed something on the floor, a small ornate box covered in dust and cobwebs. I knelt down, brushing away the debris, and opened it slowly. Inside, I found a collection of old trinkets, a locket, a faded photograph, and a delicate silk handkerchief. Each item felt imbued with memories, stories waiting to be uncovered. "Who did you belong to?" I pondered aloud, holding the locket up to the light. It was tarnished, but I could still make out the intricate designs. "Were you part of the family that lived here?" I felt a sudden weight in my chest, a connection to the past that I couldn't explain. Just then, Jasper let out a sharp meow, his fur standing on end as he stared into the corner of the room. "Jasper, what's wrong?" I asked, my heart racing as I followed his gaze. There was nothing there, just the darkened corner where shadows seemed to swirl. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the rising panic within me. "It's just an old house," I repeated to myself, but the words felt hollow. The atmosphere was heavy, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was not alone. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the room, sending a shiver down my spine. I gasped, clutching the box tightly as I felt an inexplicable presence surrounding me. "Is someone here?" I called out, my voice trembling. The air grew colder, and I could see my breath misting in front of me. Jasper hissed, and I turned to him, alarmed. "What's happening?" I asked, panic rising in my chest. But he was looking past me, his eyes wide with fear. "Please, if you're here, show yourself," I pleaded, my heart racing. I could feel the energy in the room shift, a pulse of something ancient and powerful. The atmosphere thickened, and for a moment, I felt as if the walls themselves were alive, breathing around me. The whispers returned, clearer this time, weaving through the air like a soft lament. "Help," they seemed to say, echoing in my mind. I swallowed hard, a knot forming in my throat. "Help who?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The shadows in the corner shifted, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw a figure. A woman in a long, flowing dress, her face obscured by the darkness. "No, it can't be," I murmured, shaking my head. But deep down, I felt a pull, a connection that urged me to listen. "What do you need?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. The figure flickered, and I felt a rush of emotions wash over me. Sadness, longing, and a desperate plea for understanding. "Help me find peace," the whispers echoed, and a chill raced down my spine. I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes as I realized the weight of her sorrow. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice trembling, but the figure faded, leaving only the lingering sense of loss. I was left standing alone in the dimly lit room, the echoes of the past swirling around me. Jasper padded over to my side, nuzzling my leg, grounding me in the present. "We need to figure this out together, don't we?" I said softly, looking down at him. "There's a story here, and I think we're meant to uncover it." With that, I took a deep breath, steeling myself for whatever lay ahead, the whispers of the past still echoing in my mind, urging me to listen and to help. As I stood in front of the old house, a wave of nostalgia washed over me. It had been years since I last visited, and now it stood there looming, as if it had a life of its own. The peeling paint and overgrown weeds spoke of abandonment, but there was something else, an uncanny feeling that the house was alive, holding secrets within its walls. Jasper, my cat, shifted in my arms, his green eyes wide and alert. He seemed to sense something I could not, his ears twitching as he gazed into the shadows of the porch. "Okay, buddy, let's see what we can find in there," I murmured, trying to reassure both him and myself. As I stepped inside, the creaking floorboards echoed like whispers from the past. The air felt thick, heavy with memories, and I couldn't shake the sensation that I was being watched. The interior was just as I remembered, dusty furniture draped in white sheets, remnants of a life once lived. I wandered through the rooms, running my fingers along the surfaces, collecting dust like memories. The living room, with its old fireplace and faded photographs, felt particularly oppressive. Jasper darted ahead, stopping suddenly to stare at a corner as if he sensed something hidden there. "What's got you spooked?" I asked, chuckling nervously. He merely blinked at me, still fixated on that same spot. I turned my attention back to the house, pushing aside the creeping unease. As I explored further, I stumbled upon a family heirloom, a tarnished silver locket that had fallen from a drawer. I picked it up, feeling the cool metal against my skin. "This must belong to Grandma," I said aloud, a smile creeping onto my face as I opened it to reveal a faded photograph of her and my grandfather. Their youthful faces glowed back at me, and for a moment, I felt a warmth spread through the room, as if they were watching over me. Night began to creep in, and with it came a sense of foreboding. The house, once a sanctuary of childhood memories, now felt like a labyrinth of shadows. I decided to turn in early. Perhaps the morning light would bring clarity. Just as I settled into bed, I heard it, a faint whispering, like the rustle of leaves mixed with hushed voices. "Is someone there?" I called out, heart racing. Silence enveloped me, but Jasper, who had been curled up at the foot of the bed, stood up, fur bristled. He stared into the darkened corners of the room, letting out a low, warning growl. I swallowed hard, instinctively pulling the covers closer around me. The whispers persisted, growing louder, as if beckoning me. My instincts screamed at me to run, but curiosity gnawed at me. I swung my legs over the side of the bed and crept toward the source of the sound. The hall was cloaked in darkness, and Jasper followed closely at my heels, his eyes reflecting the faint moonlight. I approached the doorway leading to the attic, where the sounds seemed to converge. I hesitated, but something inside urged me to go on. The attic had always held a certain allure, a treasure trove of forgotten memories. I reached for the doorknob, feeling its coldness seep into my bones, before pushing the door open. The attic was a whirlwind of dust motes dancing in the beam of my flashlight. Teetering stacks of boxes and old furniture loomed around me, and I felt an overwhelming urge to rummage through them. I brushed away cobwebs and carefully navigated the clutter until I spotted a small chest tucked beneath an old trunk. "Let's see what's inside," I whispered to Jasper, who remained by my side, tail flicking nervously. I knelt down, my fingers trembling with anticipation as I lifted the lid. Inside, a collection of letters lay neatly folded, their edges yellowed with age. "Wow," I breathed, pulling one out. The elegant script on the front read, "To my dearest Thomas." My heart raced as I unfolded the letter. "Clara, my love," it began, "every moment apart feels like a lifetime." The words swept me away as I read Clara's declarations of love, her hopes and dreams for a future with Thomas. I was captivated, feeling as though I had stumbled upon a piece of their souls. "Can you believe this, Jasper?" I asked, glancing at my cat, who seemed just as intrigued. "It's like holding someone's heart in my hands." The atmosphere felt charged as I read on, each letter revealing more about their passionate affair and the depth of their connection. But the letters also hinted at a tragedy, a looming shadow over their love story that I couldn't yet understand. As I delved deeper into the letters, a chill swept through the attic, making the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. I shivered, and Jasper suddenly meowed loudly, as if warning me. I looked at him, puzzled. "What is it, boy?" The moment I returned to the letter, a gust of cold wind surged through the attic, making the curtains flutter wildly. I felt a presence, something intangible yet palpable, enveloping me. "Clara?" I called hesitantly, half expecting only silence in return. Instead, the temperature dropped further, and I could almost hear her voice, a soft, sorrowful whisper that wound its way into my consciousness. "Help me," it seemed to say. I swallowed hard, clutching the letter to my chest. "What do you need?" I felt foolish speaking to an empty room, but the atmosphere crackled with energy, urging me to listen. Jasper, still on high alert, darted to the other side of the room, staring intently at a shadowy corner. "Jasper, come back," I called, but he remained fixated, his body tense. All right, I'm coming," I said, forcing myself to move closer to where he was standing. The air felt electric, and the whispers grew louder, swirling around me, drowning my rational thoughts. As I reached the corner, I noticed something glimmering on the floor. It was a small bracelet, delicate and ornate, with a single locket that resembled the one I had found earlier. "Is this yours, Clara?" I murmured, picking it up with trembling fingers. In that moment, I felt a rush of energy, a connection forged through time. The letters, the whispers, the bracelet. It all pointed to a story that needed to be told, a love that yearned for closure. "Okay, Clara," I whispered, heart pounding. "I'll help you." Jasper finally returned, rubbing against my leg as I clutched the bracelet, feeling a sense of purpose ignite within me. The house, once merely a relic of my past, was now a vessel of stories waiting to be uncovered. I was ready to dive deeper into Clara and Thomas's world, to understand the weight of their love and the tragedy that had bound them. As I made my way back to the pile of letters, the atmosphere felt different, lighter, more hopeful. I knew that whatever lay ahead, I was no longer just a visitor in this house. I was becoming part of its story. As I sat cross-legged on the dusty floor of the attic, surrounded by cobwebs and the scent of aged wood, I felt an inexplicable connection to the letters I had just unearthed. The box, nestled behind a stack of forgotten furniture, was filled to the brim with yellowed envelopes, each one a testament to a time long gone. Jasper, my ever-watchful feline companion, perched nearby, his green eyes flickering with curiosity. He seemed to sense the gravity of the moment. I carefully lifted the first letter, its paper crinkling under my fingertips. The elegant handwriting was unmistakably that of Clara, a name that resonated with a haunting beauty. "My dearest Thomas," the letter began, and my heart raced as I delved deeper into their story. "Every moment without you feels like an eternity," I read aloud, my voice barely a whisper in the stillness of the attic. "I long for the day when we can be together again, free to love without the constraints of this world." The words dripped with emotion, and I couldn't help but feel the weight of her longing. Jasper mewed softly, moving closer, as if he understood the significance of Clara's words. I glanced at him, half expecting him to respond, but he simply stared at me, his tail twitching as though urging me to continue. As I progressed through the letters, the intensity of Clara and Thomas's relationship unfolded like a vivid tapestry. Their love was woven with threads of passion and despair, each letter revealing a new layer of their connection. Clara spoke of stolen moments in the moonlight, where they would whisper sweet nothings and dream of a future together. Yet, beneath the surface, there was a palpable tension, hints of a tragedy that loomed over them. "Thomas, my heart aches for you," one letter declared. "I fear the world will not allow us to be together. There are whispers of an arranged marriage, and my parents are pressing me to comply. But how can I marry another when my soul belongs to you?" I felt a pang of sympathy for Clara, her plight echoing in my own life. The weight of societal expectations and familial obligations was a burden I knew all too well. I wondered if she had ever felt the same isolation I sometimes did, as if the walls of her world were closing in around her. As I continued reading, I stumbled upon a letter that jolted me. Clara wrote about a masquerade ball, the event that would be their last encounter. "Oh, how I long to see you in your mask, to dance with you beneath the stars, free from all constraints," she penned, her words imbued with a sense of urgency. I could almost hear the music playing in the background, feel the anticipation of their final moments together. What had happened at that ball? My heart raced with curiosity, and I felt a tug at my consciousness, as if Clara herself was urging me to uncover the truth. Suddenly, a chill swept through the attic, causing me to shiver. The air grew heavy, thick with emotion, and I instinctively looked around for Jasper. He was now sitting rigidly in a corner, his fur bristling as he stared into the darkness. "What is it, boy?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. The atmosphere shifted, and I felt a presence enveloping me, a soft whisper brushing against my skin. It was as if Clara's spirit was reaching out, trying to bridge the gap between our worlds. My heart raced as I closed my eyes, trying to connect with her. "Clara," I murmured, feeling foolish yet compelled by an unseen force. In that moment, I was no longer just a reader of her letters. I was an active participant in her story. I could almost see her, a fleeting image of a young woman with flowing hair and a wistful expression, yearning for the love she had lost. "I need to know what happened at the ball," I whispered, my voice barely audible. The air crackled with energy, and I felt a surge of emotion wash over me. Clara's sadness seeped through the letters, and I realized how deeply she had loved Thomas. "Help me," I thought I heard her say, her voice a gentle echo in my mind. "Help me find peace." The connection was palpable, and I felt tears prick at my eyes. I was drawn to Clara's story, feeling a responsibility to uncover the truth of her tragic fate. I had stumbled upon a love story that transcended time, and it was clear that Clara was still bound to this world by the threads of her past. "Jasper, we need to find out more," I said, determination rising within me. The attic, once a place of dust and forgotten memories, was now a sanctuary of secrets waiting to be unveiled. I began to search for more clues, hoping to piece together the fragments of Clara and Thomas's love. "Maybe there are more letters," I thought aloud, rummaging through the box, my heart racing with excitement. But the more I searched, the more I realized that I had only scratched the surface of their story. What had happened to them? What had torn them apart? As I continued to sift through the letters, I noticed a sudden flicker of light in the corner of the attic. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it drew my attention like a moth to a flame. I turned my gaze toward the source, and my breath caught in my throat. The light seemed to pulse softly, illuminating a dusty corner where the shadows had previously been impenetrable. "Clara," I whispered, my heart pounding. The light grew brighter, and for a fleeting moment, I believed I could feel her presence beside me, guiding me toward the answers I sought. "Show me," I pleaded, feeling a rush of desperation. "Please, help me understand." I could sense a shift in the air, a tangible energy that made the hair on my arms stand on end. The once stagnant attic now buzzed with life, and I felt Clara's spirit intertwining with mine, urging me to listen closely. "Clara, I'm here for you," I said, my voice steadying. "I'll help you find peace. I promise." The light flickered once more, and as it did, I felt a rush of warmth enveloping me. In that instant, I knew that I was not alone. Clara's story was now intertwined with my own, and together we would seek the truth that had eluded her for so long. With renewed determination, I returned to the letters, each one a key to unlocking the mystery of Clara and Thomas. Their love had faced insurmountable odds, but somehow, I felt that my journey was just beginning. I would not rest until I uncovered the truth, not only for Clara but for myself as well. As I delved deeper into their world, I could feel the weight of their love and loss pressing upon me, and I vowed to honor their legacy. I would bring their story to light, even if it meant facing the shadows that lingered in the corners of my own heart. With each letter I read, I felt a deeper connection to Clara, a kindred spirit navigating the complexities of love, loss, and the longing for closure. And as I sat in that dusty attic, I knew that I was no longer just a passive observer. I was part of a story that transcended time, a journey that would lead me to the truth I so desperately sought. As I delved deeper into the history of Clara and Thomas, I felt a growing sense of urgency to uncover the truth behind their love story. The letters I had discovered in the attic were more than just words. They were echoes of a past filled with passion and heartache. I couldn't shake the feeling that Clara was reaching out to me, desperate for closure. My heartbeat quickened as I recalled the mention of a masquerade ball, a pivotal moment in their lives. I decided then and there that I had to learn more about that event. I spent the next few days researching the ball, scouring local archives and dusty old newspapers. Each article I found painted a picture of a grand celebration, filled with laughter, music, and masked faces swirling around under the soft glow of chandeliers. It was the talk of the town, the librarian had said, her eyes sparkling with nostalgia. Clara and Thomas were the couple everyone admired. Their love story was the stuff of dreams. With every detail I unearthed, I felt a stronger connection to Clara. I could almost envision her in a flowing gown, her hair adorned with delicate ribbons, dancing in Thomas's arms as the music played. I imagined the excitement of the evening, the thrill of anonymity that came with the masks people wore, allowing them to be someone else for just a night. But beneath that festive exterior, I sensed the undercurrents of tragedy that would soon follow. One evening, while sifting through a particularly old newspaper, I stumbled upon a photograph that made my breath catch in my throat. It depicted a group of elegantly dressed couples at the masquerade ball, their faces hidden behind ornate masks. My eyes fell upon one couple in particular, Clara and Thomas. In that moment, the years melted away, and I was transported back to that night. Clara's laughter seemed to echo in my ears as I traced the outline of her mask with my finger. She looked radiant, and Thomas stood beside her, his gaze full of adoration. "Wow!" I whispered, captivated. "You two really were something special." I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness as I stared at their youthful faces. What had happened to them after that night? What tragic twist had fate dealt? As I continued my research, I began to piece together the events that unfolded after the ball. Clara's letters hinted at a dark turn in their story, and I could feel the weight of her sorrow as I read them. It was clear that their love had been tested in ways I couldn't yet comprehend. The more I learned, the more I understood that Clara needed my help to find peace. One rainy afternoon, I sat in my small living room, surrounded by the remnants of Clara and Thomas's love. A collection of letters, photographs, and an old music box I had found in the attic. As I listened to the soft patter of rain against the window, I felt an overwhelming urge to connect with Clara. "What can I do for you?" I asked aloud, my voice barely breaking the silence. "How can I help you find closure?" Just then, Jasper, my cat, leaped onto my lap, sensing my agitation. He purred softly, his fur warm against my skin. "Do you think Clara is near?" I asked him, half joking. "Maybe she wants to tell me more about the ball." Jasper's ears perked up, and he stared toward the darkest corner of the room, a low growl rumbling in his throat. I followed his gaze, a chill creeping up my spine. Okay, I said, trying to shake off the unease. "Let's see if we can uncover more about that night." I pulled out the music box and wound it up, letting its familiar melody fill the air. The notes danced around me, and for a fleeting moment, I felt the presence of Clara as if she were right beside me, guiding me. That night, I dreamt of the masquerade ball. The vividness of the dream startled me awake. I could see Clara in her beautiful gown, her mask adorned with feathers. She twirled gracefully, laughter spilling from her lips, while Thomas watched her with a look of pure admiration. I could feel their connection, strong and palpable, but something was off. There was an undercurrent of tension that I couldn't place. "Clara!" I called out in my dream, reaching for her. "What happened after the ball? Why are you still here?" But as I reached for her, the scene began to fade, and I was left with nothing but darkness. I awoke with a start, my heart racing. I had to know what happened. I realized that I needed to explore the ballroom itself, to feel the energy of the space where Clara and Thomas had danced. The next day, I set out to find the location of the historic ballroom. After some inquiries, I discovered it was an old building that had been preserved as a museum. When I arrived, I was struck by its grandeur. The walls were adorned with intricate moldings, and the chandeliers still sparkled as if they had just been polished. As I walked through the space, I could almost hear the echoes of laughter and music that had once filled the hall. "Welcome. Can I help you?" A kind voice interrupted my reverie. A woman with warm brown eyes approached me, her name tag identifying her as the museum curator. "Yes," I replied, regaining my composure. "I'm researching the masquerade ball that was held here years ago." I'm particularly interested in a couple named Clara and Thomas. The curator's expression softened. Ah, Clara and Thomas. Their story is quite tragic and well known in our town. Many people still visit the museum to learn about them. I felt a rush of excitement. Really? What happened to them? They were deeply in love, but after the ball, there was a terrible accident. Thomas. He passed away shortly after, and Clara was heartbroken. Some say she never truly recovered. The weight of her words hung heavily in the air. So she's still here, isn't she? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The curator nodded. Many believe Clara's spirit lingers, searching for peace. The love they shared was so profound that it transcended even death. Some visitors claim to have felt her presence in this very room. As I stood there, a sense of purpose washed over me. I understood now that Clara's unfinished business was tied to her love for Thomas. They had been denied their happy ending, and I was the bridge between their worlds. I had to help her find closure. Is there a way to honor their love here? I asked, feeling hopeful. Perhaps a small ceremony, the curator suggested. You could invite friends and family, share their story, and create a space for Clara to release her pain. It could be a beautiful tribute. I left the museum with a renewed sense of determination. I would honor Clara and Thomas's love, not just for them, but for myself as well. I needed this connection, this purpose to heal my own scars. That evening, as I sat on my couch with Jasper curled up beside me, I began to plan the ceremony. I would gather mementos that represented their love story, the letters, photos, and the music box. I envisioned a gathering filled with warmth, love, and understanding. A place where Clara could finally let go of her sorrow. Jasper, we're going to do something special, I said, looking down at my feline companion. We'll help Clara find peace, and in doing so, we'll find our own. Jasper blinked at me, his eyes wide and knowing, as if he understood the importance of the moment. I felt a surge of hope, and as I began to organize my thoughts, I knew that the masquerade ball would no longer be just a memory. It would become a part of my healing journey as well. Clara and Thomas's love story had intertwined with mine, and together, we would find the light amidst the shadows. The air in the room felt thick, almost electric, as I prepared to reach out to Clara. I had spent countless hours researching her life, piecing together fragments of her past through the letters I found in the attic. Now, in the dim light, with the shadows of the old house looming around me, I decided it was time to make contact. I lit a few candles, their flickering flames casting dancing shadows against the walls, and arranged them in a circle on the floor. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, and I could feel Jasper, my cat, watching me intently from the corner of the room, his green eyes gleaming. Okay, Clara, I whispered, taking a deep breath. I'm ready to listen. As I closed my eyes, I focused on the energy around me, trying to create a bridge between our worlds. I felt a chill breeze sweep across the room, and a shiver ran down my spine. If you can hear me, please show yourself, I pleaded softly, my voice barely above a whisper. I want to help you. Jasper's behavior suddenly changed. He darted around the room, his tail puffed up, and started to meow loudly. It was as if he was trying to guide me, urging me to pay attention. What is it, buddy? I asked, my heart racing. Do you sense something? He stopped abruptly in front of the old mirror that hung crookedly on the wall, staring into it with a fierce intensity. I felt a strange compulsion to follow his gaze. The reflection showed only the dim light of the candles, but I sensed something else, something just beyond the veil of the visible. Clara, I called out again, my voice steady despite the unease creeping into my mind. If you're here, please come forward. The temperature in the room dropped, and I could see my breath mist in the air. I opened my eyes, and before me, a faint silhouette began to form. At first, it was just a shimmer, but gradually, the outline of a woman appeared. She wore a flowing white dress, her hair cascading down her back like a waterfall of shadows. Clara. I could barely breathe as I took in her ethereal form. Clara, I said, my voice trembling. Is that you? Yes, she whispered, her voice like a soft breeze, carrying the weight of sorrow. I've waited so long for someone to hear me. What happened to you? I asked, my heart aching at the sight of her despair. Why are you still here? I am bound to this house, to the love I lost, she replied, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Thomas, he never knew how much I loved him when I had the chance to tell him. I never got to say goodbye. I felt a wave of empathy wash over me as her pain resonated within my own heart. Clara, I found your letters. I know about your love for Thomas. You have so much to say to him. Yes, she sighed, the sound laced with regret. But how can I let go of something so precious? Maybe you just need to find a way to say goodbye, I suggested gently, my own experiences of loss surfacing in my mind. You deserve peace, Clara. You deserve to be free. The flickering candles cast several shadows, and I saw her expression change, a flicker of hope mingling with her sadness. Do you really think so? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I believe it, I replied earnestly. You have the power to release yourself from this pain. You just need to confront it. As I spoke, Jasper approached Clara, his demeanor shifting from one of fright to curiosity. He circled her, as if sensing that she was not a threat, but a lost soul in need of compassion. What if I could make him understand? Clara asked, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Perhaps we can find a way to honor your love, I offered, the idea forming in my mind. A ceremony, something symbolic that allows you to express your feelings for Thomas one last time. You can share your love and then let go. The air grew still, and I sensed Clara contemplating my words. Would you help me? She asked, her gaze searching mine, as if grasping for a lifeline. Of course, I assured her. I'll do whatever it takes to help you find peace. In that moment, I felt an unspoken bond forming between us. Clara's pain became a part of my own, and I was determined to assist her in any way I could. What do you need from me? I asked, my heart racing with the possibilities. I need to remember the good times, the moments we shared, she replied, her voice a whisper filled with longing. But there's so much darkness in my heart that I don't know how to let it go. Let's start with the memories, I suggested. Tell me about the good times you had with Thomas. Let's honor those moments together. Clara closed her eyes, and for a moment, a serene expression crossed her face. We laughed a lot, she began, her voice softening. He had a way of making me feel alive, as if the world was ours to conquer. We would dance in the moonlight and dream of a future that felt so bright. As she spoke, I could see glimpses of her memories manifesting in the air around us. Images of laughter, dancing under the stars, and tender embraces. Each memory was like a brushstroke on a canvas, painting a vivid picture of their love story. Then came the accident, she continued, the light in her eyes dimming. It shattered everything, and I never got to say goodbye. I was left with so many unanswered questions. Clara, it's okay to feel that pain, I encouraged, my own heart aching for her. But you don't have to carry it alone anymore. Jasper, sensing the shift in the energy, jumped onto my lap and purred softly, as if offering his support. Clara looked at him, her expression softening momentarily. Your cat. He's special, isn't he? He is. I chuckled lightly, grateful for the momentary distraction. He's been my companion through thick and thin. Maybe he can help us. As if on cue, Jasper leapt down and began to play with a stray piece of string on the floor, momentarily lightening the mood. Clara laughed, and the sound was like music to my ears, a glimpse of the joy that had once filled her life. Thank you for this, she said, her voice steadier now. It feels good to remember the happiness, even if just for a moment. We'll hold on to those memories, I promised, my resolve strengthening. And when the time is right, we'll create a space for you to say goodbye to Thomas. As we continued to talk, I could feel Clara's presence growing stronger, her spirit brightening as she shared more about her life with Thomas. I realized that, In helping her process her emotions, I was also uncovering parts of my own heart that had long been buried. The connections between us were deeper than I had initially understood. "Tell me about that last night together," I encouraged gently, sensing it was a pivotal moment in her story. Clara's face fell, and for a moment, silence enveloped us. "It was the night of the masquerade ball," she finally whispered, her voice laced with sorrow. "I wore a blue dress that shimmered like the night sky, and he wore a mask that hid his eyes, but I could see the love in his heart." "What happened that night?" I asked, knowing it was a significant moment for her. "We danced for hours, lost in our own world," Clara reminisced, her tone wistful. "But I was scared of what the future held. I didn't tell him how much he meant to me. I let him leave without knowing that he was my everything." The weight of her words hung in the air, and I could feel the depth of her regret. "Clara, it's never too late to express love," I urged, my heart aching for her. "You have the chance to share that love now, in a different way." "Do you really believe that?" she asked, her voice filled with a mix of hope and doubt. "I do," I replied firmly. "You can let him know how much he meant to you. It's about honoring your love, not just for him, but for yourself as well." The room felt charged with energy, and I sensed that we were on the brink of something profound. Clara's spirit flickered like the candle flames, and I could almost see her heart opening, ready to embrace the possibility of closure. "I want to try," she said, determination creeping into her voice. "I want to say goodbye and let him know that he was loved." "Then let's do it together," I said, my voice steady. "We'll create a space for you to express your love and finally let go of the past." As I spoke, I could feel a shift in the air, as if Clara's spirit was aligning with my intentions. The connection between us deepened, and in that moment, I knew we were on the path to healing, both for her and for myself. The air in the attic was thick with the weight of history, a blend of dust and memories that clung to the corners like cobwebs. I sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by the scattered letters from Clara to Thomas, the fragile paper yellowed with age. Each word seemed to pulsate with emotion, a testament to a love that transcended time. But as I read, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was not alone. Jasper, my loyal feline companion, was perched nearby, watching me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "Do you feel it too, Jasper?" I whispered, glancing at him. He responded with a soft meow, his green eyes wide and alert, as if he could see something just beyond my perception. I closed my eyes for a moment, allowing the whispers of the past to wash over me, the echoes of Clara's heartache mingling with my own. I was struggling with my own ghosts, loss, loneliness, and the slow realization that I had been holding myself captive in my own life. "Clara," I murmured, feeling a connection to the woman whose letters I had just begun to understand. "I want to help you. I want to understand your pain." The air grew colder, and a shiver raced down my spine. It was as if the very walls were listening, holding their breath in anticipation. Suddenly, a chill swept through the attic, and I opened my eyes to see a faint shimmer in the air before me. I blinked, unsure of what I was witnessing. "Is that you, Clara?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Jasper, sensing the shift in energy, crouched low, his fur bristling. The outline of a figure began to solidify, forming the delicate shape of a woman dressed in a flowing white gown, her hair cascading like a river over her shoulders. It was Clara. Her face, though ethereal, was etched with sadness. "You've come to find me," she said, her voice like a gentle breeze, both comforting and haunting. "I've read your letters," I replied, feeling a lump form in my throat. "I understand now. You loved him deeply." Her gaze faltered, and I watched as a single tear rolled down her translucent cheek. "Love can be a beautiful thing, but it can also bind you in chains," she said, her voice trembling. "I never meant to linger. I was taken so suddenly, and my heart, it never found peace." "What happened to you?" I asked, leaning forward, desperate to understand. "The letters mention an accident," Was it the dance? The ball? Clara nodded slowly, the air around her shimmering like a mirage. Yes, the ball. It was to be a night of joy, a celebration of our love. But fate had other plans. There was a storm that night and I was too eager to see him. She paused, her expression clouded with regret. I lost my way, and in my haste I was struck down. The weight of her words settled heavily in my chest. You didn't get to say goodbye, I whispered. You were left with all these unresolved feelings. Exactly, Clara replied, her voice barely above a whisper. I watched him suffer, burdened by my absence. He never knew how much I loved him, how deeply my heart ached for him even in death. Clara, you deserve to be free, I said, the urgency of her situation flooding my senses. You can't keep carrying this pain. Let me help you. She looked at me, her eyes filled with an ancient sorrow. How can you help me? I am but a wisp of what I once was. My love is my prison. Maybe it's not just your love, I suggested. Maybe you need to let go of the past and say goodbye to Thomas. He deserves to move on too. You can both find peace. Clara's form flickered, and I could sense her turmoil. But how can I do that? How can I let him go when my heart still clings to him? By acknowledging your love and the pain it brought, I offered gently. You can honor your feelings without being bound by them. You can still love him and let him live his life. She seemed to consider my words, her expression softening. I want to believe that, but it's so hard. I've been here, trapped in this space, watching him carry the weight of my absence. Let's talk about him, I encouraged, hoping to draw her out of her despair. What do you remember most about Thomas? What was your happiest moment together? A smile ghosted across Clara's lips, and for a moment, her sadness lifted. He had the most infectious laugh. It lit up the room. At the ball, we danced as if the world had vanished. It was just the two of us, lost in a whirl of music and love. Then let that memory be your guide, I said, feeling a surge of hope. Focus on that joy. Celebrate the love you shared, and then let him go. I want to, she whispered, the ache in her voice undeniable. But I'm so afraid. Fear is natural, I reassured her. But holding on to it only prolongs your pain. You have the power to choose your path. You can embrace the beauty of your love and still find a way to release it. Jasper, sensing the shift in energy, moved closer to me, his presence grounding me. Clara, you are not alone in this. I'm here for you, and so are all the people who cared about you. We want to help you find peace. The room seemed to hum with energy as Clara's figure flickered again. What if I can't let go? She pleaded, her voice trembling. What if I lose him forever? Losing him doesn't mean your love will disappear, I replied softly. True love transcends even death. You can still carry him in your heart, but it doesn't have to weigh you down. You can cherish those memories without being trapped by them. Clara's expression wavered between hope and despair. You speak of such wisdom, she said, her voice a soft breeze. But how do I begin? How do I say goodbye? Start by telling me what you would say to him if you could, I encouraged, feeling a warmth in my heart for this lost soul. What would you want him to know? She took a deep breath, her ethereal form shimmering in the dim light of the attic. I would tell him that I loved him more than words could express, she began, her voice stronger now. I would tell him that I am sorry for the pain I caused him, that my heart ached for him every moment I was gone. Keep going, I urged, feeling the energy in the room shift as Clara began to pour out her heart. Let it all out. I would tell him that he was the light of my life, and even though I can't be with him in the way we both wanted, I will always love him, she continued, her gaze distant as if she were looking through time. I would want him to find happiness again, to live fully, to dance again. A tear slipped down her cheek, and I felt the weight of her sorrow. Clara, you're doing it, I said, my voice thick with emotion. You're letting it out. This is the first step toward your freedom. I never wanted to leave him, she confessed, her voice breaking. I never wanted to hurt him. I just wanted to love him. And you still can, I said, my heart aching for her. But you have to let him go. You have to trust that love will always be part of you, even if you're apart. A moment of silence hung between us, the air charged with emotion. Then Clara spoke again, her voice steadier. I will try to let him go. I don't want to haunt him anymore. Good, I said, feeling a glimmer of hope. You're making the right choice. It's time to find peace. With that, I reached out my hand, feeling the cool air around Clara. Let's do this together. You're not alone in this. As I held my hand out, a soft glow enveloped Clara, illuminating the attic with an otherworldly light. Thank you, she whispered, her voice a mere echo against the walls. Thank you for helping me find my way. In that moment, I felt a surge of energy wash over me, powerful, liberating, and filled with love. Clara's presence began to shimmer and fade, the pain in her gaze replaced by a soft smile. I will always love him, she said, her voice echoing in my heart. And now, I can finally say goodbye. With those final words, the light around her enveloped me, and I closed my eyes, feeling the warmth of her love. I knew then that I had not only helped Clara find peace, but had also begun to heal my own wounds. In letting her go, I realized that it was time for me to embrace my own life once again. The shadows of the past were lifting, making way for the promise of new beginnings. As I sat on the dusty floor of the attic, surrounded by the remnants of Clara's life, I felt a surge of determination. The letters I had read were not just echoes of a past love. They were a call to action, urging me to facilitate a farewell that Clara had never received. I could almost hear her voice, filled with a mixture of longing and sorrow, guiding me in my thoughts. The weight of her spirit rested heavily on my shoulders, but I was ready to help her find peace. I took a deep breath, the air thick with dust and memories, and began to envision the ceremony. It needed to be perfect, a tribute to the love that Clara and Thomas had shared. I pictured a small gathering, perhaps just a few close friends and family, in a space where the energy felt right. My mind raced with ideas as I imagined the items that would represent their love. A small bouquet of dried flowers, a candle flickering in memory, and perhaps the letters themselves, carefully placed in a box. Jasper, I called softly, my voice barely breaking the silence of the attic. The black cat appeared from the shadows, his green eyes glinting with curiosity. What do you think we should include in the ceremony? I chuckled lightly, as if he could answer me. He meowed in response, and for a moment, I felt a sense of camaraderie. You're right. We should make it special. I decided to head downstairs to gather my thoughts and make a list. As I descended the creaking stairs, I could feel the house around me, its history wrapping around me like a warm blanket, but I was aware of its chill as well. The weight of Clara's presence lingered, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she was watching, waiting for me to make the right moves. Once in the living room, I grabbed a notepad and a pen, sitting down at the old wooden table. I started jotting down ideas. Okay, let's see, I muttered, focusing intently. A small gathering, maybe at sunset? That could be beautiful. I'll need flowers, perhaps some lavender for peace, and white roses for love. As I scribbled, I heard a soft knock on the door. Startled, I paused, glancing toward the entrance. Who could that be? I wondered aloud. It was unusual for anyone to drop by unannounced. I stood up, smoothing my shirt, and opened the door cautiously. To my surprise, it was Sarah, a friend I hadn't seen in a while. Her blonde hair was tied back in a messy bun, and she wore a bright smile that instantly warmed my heart. Hey, I hope I'm not interrupting anything, she said cheerfully, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Not at all. I was just thinking, I replied, gesturing for her to sit down. How have you been? I've been good, busy with work, but you know how it is. I was just in the neighborhood and thought I'd check on you. I heard you were back at the old house. She glanced around, her eyes landing on the scattered boxes and the dusty furniture. It looks like you've been doing some serious cleaning. I nodded, feeling the weight of the memories around me. Yeah, it's a lot. I hesitated, unsure how much to share. I've been going through some things that belonged to the previous owner. There's a story here that I can't quite shake off. Is it about the house? She asked, her curiosity piqued. Sort of. It's about Clara and Thomas. Their love story is woven into this place. I paused, weighing my words. I think I need to help Clara find peace. She's still here, you know? I can feel her. Sarah's expression shifted to one of understanding. You mean like a ghost? She asked, her voice softening. Yeah, something like that. I've been reading her letters, and it's clear she has unfinished business. I explained, the urgency of my mission bubbling to the surface. I'm planning a small ceremony, a symbolic goodbye for her and Thomas. That sounds beautiful, Sarah said, her eyes brightening. You know I'd love to help. What do you need? Her willingness to assist filled me with gratitude. I was thinking of gathering a few things that represent their love. Flowers, a candle, maybe even a box for the letters. But I'm not sure where to start. Let's brainstorm, she exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. What else do you think would be meaningful? I leaned back in my chair, contemplating. I want it to be intimate, but also a celebration of their love. Perhaps we could include some music, something soft and romantic to set the mood. Great idea. I can bring my guitar, she offered, already envisioning the scene. And what about food? A little spread for everyone to enjoy afterwards. Definitely. A small buffet would be perfect. Something simple but heartfelt. I smiled, feeling the excitement build. This is coming together nicely. We spent the next hour brainstorming ideas, diving deeper into what would make the ceremony special. Sarah suggested incorporating personal stories from those who would attend, sharing memories of love and connection. I loved that idea. That way, Clara and Thomas's story can intertwine with ours, I said, my heart swelling with the thought of merging past and present. As we planned, Jasper made his presence known, weaving between our legs and occasionally jumping onto the table, demanding attention. I think he approves, Sarah laughed, scratching him behind the ears. Yeah, he's been quite the guide through all of this, I said, watching my cat with affection. It's like he senses Clara's spirit. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the windows, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Let's set a date for the ceremony, I said, looking at Sarah. How about this weekend? It gives us a few days to prepare. Perfect. I'll clear my schedule, she replied, her eyes sparkling with excitement. We'll make this a day to remember, not just for Clara but for us too. As we finalized the details, I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. Clara's presence was no longer just a haunting memory. It was a guiding force, bringing people together in a way I had never expected. I could already envision the ceremony, the flickering candlelight, the soft strumming of Sarah's guitar, and the stories shared in hushed tones, all honoring a love that transcended time. Thank you for being here, Sarah, I said, sincerity lacing my voice. It means more than you know. Of course, I'm honored to be part of this. Clara deserves to be remembered, she replied, her smile warm and genuine. And so do you. You're doing something incredible. As the evening unfolded, we gathered the materials we would need. Flowers, candles, and paper for notes that guests could write to Clara and Thomas. Each item we collected added to the growing sense of anticipation and purpose. Before Sarah left, we decided to take a moment to pause and reflect. Should we say a few words to Clara? I suggested, feeling a connection to her spirit in the quiet of the room. Sarah nodded, her expression serious. Yes, let's do it. We stood together in the living room, surrounded by the remnants of the past. Clara, I began, feeling a flutter of nerves in my stomach. We're here for you. We want to honor your love for Thomas and help you find peace. We promise to do everything we can to make this ceremony a beautiful farewell. Thank you for sharing your story with us, Sarah added, her voice steady. We want you to know that you're not alone. Your love and your story matters. As we finished our words, I felt a gentle breeze rustle through the room, as if Clara herself was acknowledging us. I glanced at Sarah, who wore a look of awe. "Did you feel that?" "Absolutely," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "She's here, isn't she?" I nodded, a sense of calm washing over me. "I think she is. We're on the right path." As Sarah left, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The ceremony was shaping up to be a heartfelt tribute to Clara and Thomas, and I knew that my life was transforming alongside theirs. The healing was mutual. It wasn't just Clara finding peace, but me too, as I prepared to honor a love that had transcended both time and tragedy. With every detail we planned, I felt the weight of the past begin to lift, making room for new connections and new beginnings. Clara's story was no longer just a haunting tale. It was a celebration of love, loss, and the enduring bonds that held us all together. And as I looked out the window, watching the first stars twinkle in the evening sky, I felt hopeful about the future. The day of the ceremony arrived, and I could feel a palpable energy in the air as the sun rose over the horizon, casting a warm golden glow through the dusty windows of the old house. I had spent the previous night organizing and preparing, my heart racing with anticipation and a hint of trepidation. Today was not just an event. It was a momentous occasion that would bridge the gap between the living and the lost. As I moved through the house, I could see the remnants of Clara and Thomas's love story everywhere. The faded photographs on the walls, the delicate lace curtains that fluttered with the slightest breeze, and the old piano in the corner that had likely serenaded them during happier times. Jasper, my loyal feline companion, seemed to sense the significance of the day too. He followed me closely, occasionally pausing to stare at empty corners, his green eyes wide and alert, as if he could see Clara's spirit lingering near. By mid-morning, the house was bustling with friends and family. I had invited those closest to me, knowing that their presence would not only honor Clara and Thomas, but also support me in this emotional journey. The living room was transformed with soft candlelight and flowers that I had carefully chosen for their symbolism. White lilies for purity, red roses for love, and lavender for peace. Each arrangement felt like a tribute, a physical manifestation of the love that Clara had for Thomas. "Are you ready for this?" my friend Mia asked, her voice a soothing balm amidst my swirling thoughts. She had been by my side throughout this entire process, offering support and understanding in ways I didn't know I needed. Her dark hair framed her face, and there was a sincerity in her eyes that calmed my nerves. I took a deep breath, the scent of the flowers filling my lungs. "I think so. I just hope I can do this right for Clara. She deserves peace." Mia smiled softly, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "You've done so much already. Just speak from your heart. Clara will feel it, trust me." As the guests began to settle, I felt a flutter of anxiety in my stomach. I glanced around the room, taking in the familiar faces of my loved ones. Some I hadn't seen in years, drawn together by the gravity of this moment. Conversations filled the air, laughter mingling with the somber purpose of our gathering. It was a beautiful chaos, a reminder that even in loss, we could find connection. "Everyone, can I have your attention, please?" I called out, my voice slightly trembling as I stood in front of them. The room quieted, and all eyes turned to me, their expressions a blend of curiosity and compassion. "Thank you all for being here today. We've come together not only to honor the memory of Clara and Thomas, but also to celebrate the love they shared. Their story, though marked by tragedy, is a testament to the depth of love that exists even when faced with loss." A soft murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, and I could see nods of understanding. I took a moment to collect my thoughts, the weight of Clara's spirit pressing gently against my heart. "I found Clara's letters in the attic," I continued, my voice gaining strength. Through her words, I discovered the beautiful connection she had with Thomas. Their love was passionate and profound, but it was also filled with regrets and unfulfilled promises. Clara has been trapped between this world and the next, and it's my hope that today we can help her find peace. I glanced at Mia, who smiled encouragingly. "In honor of their love, I've prepared a small ritual. We'll light a candle for Clara and Thomas, sharing our own memories of love and loss." This is a safe space for all of us to express what we feel. I stepped forward to the makeshift altar I had created, a small table adorned with candles and flowers. As I light this candle, I invite anyone who wishes to share a memory or a thought to come forward. Let's create a circle of love and support. As I struck the match and lit the first candle, its flame flickered to life, casting gentle shadows across the room. One by one, friends and family approached the altar, sharing their stories. There were tears and laughter, moments of nostalgia that connected us all. My Aunt Sarah spoke of her own lost love, her voice trembling but resolute. Love never truly leaves us. It changes form. We carry those we've lost in our hearts, and today, we honor that. Mia stepped forward next, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I remember the summer we spent together, Clara and I. We would sit in the garden, dreaming about the future. She believed in true love, and I know she found it with Thomas. I hope they can finally be together again. As each story unfolded, I felt a weight lifting from my chest. The shared memories wove a tapestry of connection that transcended grief, binding us together in our shared humanity. I could feel Clara's presence growing stronger, a gentle warmth enveloping the room like a soft embrace. When it was my turn, I took a deep breath, looking around at the faces of my loved ones. Clara, I want you to know that you are loved and remembered. Your story has touched my heart deeply, and I promise to carry your legacy forward. You taught me about love and loss, about the importance of connection. Thank you for trusting me to help you find peace. As I finished speaking, I noticed the room grow still, an almost reverent hush falling over us. The candle flames flickered more vigorously, and a chill ran through the air. I closed my eyes for a moment, focusing on the energy surrounding me. It felt as if Clara was there, her spirit resonating with the love we had all shared. Suddenly, a soft breeze swept through the room, rustling the curtains and sending a shiver down my spine. I opened my eyes to see Jasper sitting at the edge of the room, his back arched, staring intently at something unseen. I felt a wave of connection wash over me, recognizing that Clara was acknowledging our efforts. Let's light another candle for Clara's journey to the other side, I suggested, my voice steady despite the emotions swirling within me. I picked up another match, and as I lit the second candle, I felt a surge of energy, a gentle, loving presence enveloping us. Clara, this is your light. May it guide you home, I whispered, my heart swelling with compassion. Mia stepped forward again, her voice soft but firm. We are here for you, Clara. You are not alone. You never were. As the flames danced, I could see tears glistening in the eyes of those around me, their faces illuminated by the warm glow. It was a moment of shared vulnerability, a recognition of the fragility of life and the strength of love. After lighting a few more candles, I invited everyone to join hands, creating a circle around the altar. Let's take a moment of silence together, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Let's send our love to Clara and Thomas, and let them know they are free to let go. The silence that followed was profound, filled with unspoken words and shared emotions. I could feel the collective heartbeat of our group, the rhythm of love and loss intertwining as we stood united in our intentions. When we finally opened our eyes, the room felt charged with a new energy. I looked around at the faces of my friends and family, their expressions reflecting a mixture of sadness and hope. In that moment, I realized how powerful this gathering had been, not just for Clara, but for all of us. As we moved to the next part of the ceremony, I could feel Clara's presence more distinctly. It was as if she was standing beside me, guiding my words and actions. I led the group in a final tribute, asking each person to take a flower from the altar and place it in a vase as a symbol of love and remembrance. This flower represents our love for Clara and Thomas, I explained, watching as each person stepped forward, their faces serene. As we place it in the vase, let's remember that love never dies. It transforms and continues to bloom in our hearts. With each flower added to the vase, I felt a sense of completion enveloping the room. The atmosphere grew lighter, and I sensed that Clara was beginning to find her peace. As the last flower was placed, I took a moment to reflect. Clara's journey had touched me in ways I had never anticipated. I had entered this house seeking answers, but I was leaving with a renewed sense of purpose and connection, not only to Clara but to my own life and relationships. "Thank you all for being here today," I said, my voice filled with gratitude. "Your presence has made this ceremony special and meaningful. Let's carry the love we've shared today into our lives, honoring Clara and Thomas by cherishing our connections." As the guests began to mingle and share more stories, I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me. The weight of loss had transformed into a celebration of love, and I could feel Clara's spirit shining brightly among us. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the room, I stood at the center of the gathering, heart pounding with anticipation. Friends and family surrounded me, their faces a mix of curiosity and reverence. We had come together for a purpose that transcended the mundane, united by the spirit of Clara, whose lingering presence was palpable in the air. This was not just a ceremony. It was a farewell, a release, and a celebration of love that had endured through time. I took a deep breath, steadying my nerves. "Thank you all for being here today," I began, my voice slightly trembling. "This is a special moment for Clara and Thomas, and for all of us who have loved and lost." I glanced around the room, meeting the eyes of those I cherished most. Their supportive smiles urged me on, and I felt a surge of strength. Jasper, my ever-watchful feline companion, lay curled up at my feet, a silent guardian of our shared journey. His emerald eyes flickered with a knowing glint, as if he understood the significance of this moment better than anyone. I had set up a small altar, adorned with candles flickering softly, photographs of Clara and Thomas, and tokens that represented their love. Each item told a story, and each story was a thread woven into the fabric of our lives. I continued, "Today, we honor Clara's memory and the love she shared with Thomas. They were more than just names on a page. They were real, vibrant souls who experienced the joys and sorrows of life together." A hush fell over the room, and I could feel the weight of emotion hanging in the air. As I spoke, I noticed a chill creeping into the atmosphere, a familiar sensation that had accompanied my interactions with Clara's spirit. The candles flickered violently, as if stirred by an unseen breeze. "Clara, if you are with us," I said, my voice wavering slightly, "please know that we are here to help you find peace." A soft rustling filled the space, and I felt an electric charge, a palpable energy that coursed through me. I closed my eyes, centering myself, trying to connect with Clara on a deeper level. "You are not alone anymore," I whispered, hoping she could hear me. "We are all here for you." Suddenly, I opened my eyes to see a shimmering light coalescing in the corner of the room. Gasps of awe escaped the lips of my friends and family as the air thickened with an ethereal presence. "Clara," I called out, my voice steadying with the realization that she was indeed with us. "We are ready to help you let go." The light began to take shape, and within moments, Clara appeared, her form delicate and translucent. She looked as I had imagined from the photographs, beautiful with dark hair cascading down her shoulders, her eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and hope. I felt a swell of compassion for her, understanding the weight she had carried for far too long. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice like a gentle breeze. "Thank you for bringing me here, for helping me find my way." Her gaze swept across the room, landing on each of my loved ones, who stood in silent support. "We've all felt your pain, Clara," I replied, my heart aching for her. "You've been trapped between worlds, and it's time to release those chains. Thomas is waiting for you." At the mention of Thomas, Clara's expression shifted, a flicker of anguish crossing her face. "I miss him so much," she whispered, tears shimmering in her eyes like dew on grass. "I never got to say goodbye, and it haunts me. Today is your chance to do that," I said gently, stepping forward. "You can have your closure, Clara. You can be free." One of my friends, Sarah, stepped forward, her voice steady and compassionate. "Clara, we are here to witness your journey. You are surrounded by love. Let us help you find peace." Clara nodded, the weight of her sorrow evident in the way she held herself. But there was also a flicker of hope igniting in her gaze. "Will you help me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Will you help me say goodbye?" I glanced around the room, meeting the eyes of my friends and family, who all nodded in agreement. "We will help you," I promised, my voice firm. "Together." I gestured toward the altar, where I had prepared a small, symbolic ritual. "We will light these candles, each representing a piece of your love for Thomas. As we do, I want you to speak to him. Share your heart, and let the past be the past." With trembling hands, I reached for the first candle, lighting it with a match. The flame danced brightly, flickering in the dim light of the room. "This candle represents your love, Clara," I said, placing it gently on the altar. "Let it shine for Thomas, as your love always has." One by one, my friends joined me in lighting candles, each flame representing a cherished memory or a moment of love shared between Clara and Thomas. The room filled with a warm glow, and I could feel the energy shifting, growing more intense as Clara's spirit became more vibrant. "Now, Clara," I encouraged, "speak to him. Let him know you are ready to say goodbye." Clara took a step forward, her ethereal form shimmering in the candlelight. "Thomas," she began, her voice steadying, "I've missed you every single day. I've carried your memory with me, but it's been a burden to bear alone." She paused, her gaze distant as if she were looking through time. "I want you to know that I loved you deeply, and I still do." A wave of emotion washed over me, and I could see my friends nodding in understanding, sharing in Clara's pain. "I never wanted to leave you," she continued, her voice thick with emotion. "But I've been trapped in this limbo, unable to find peace. I need you to know that I am letting go now." As she spoke, I felt the energy in the room shift again, becoming more intense, more vibrant. The candles flickered wildly, and I instinctively reached out for Jasper, who had begun to pace anxiously. "Stay with me, buddy," I murmured, stroking his fur as I focused on Clara. "I hope you can forgive me for not being there with you when it mattered most," Clara said, her voice filled with sorrow. "I want you to be happy, Thomas. Please, find your peace." As she finished her heartfelt goodbye, I noticed a bright light surrounding her, pulsing with energy. "Clara," I said softly, "it's time. You've honored Thomas with your words, and now you can honor yourself by letting go." "I'm ready," she whispered, her eyes shimmering with tears of both joy and sadness. "Thank you for helping me find my way." With that, I gestured to my friends, and together we raised our hands in a circle around Clara. "We release you, Clara," I said, my voice strong and clear. "We release you from the chains of the past. Go to Thomas, and may your love shine bright in the afterlife." As we spoke, a wave of energy enveloped the room, and I could feel Clara's spirit begin to dissolve into the light. The flickering candles burned brighter, illuminating her form as she began to ascend. "Thank you," she whispered one last time, her voice echoing like a song carried by the wind. "Thank you for everything." The light enveloped her completely, and with a final burst of energy, Clara was gone. The room fell silent, and I stood there, overwhelmed with emotion. My friends and family exchanged glances, some with tears in their eyes, others with smiles of understanding and peace. "We did it," I whispered, disbelief washing over me. "She's free." As the silence stretched on, I felt a profound sense of calm settling around us. Clara's presence lingered in the air, a gentle reminder of the love that had transcended the boundaries of life and death. I glanced down at Jasper, who had settled back at my feet, his eyes closed in contentment. "Thank you for being my guide," I said softly to him, feeling the warmth of gratitude swell within me. I turned to my friends, who were still processing the moment. "Thank you all for being here. I couldn't have done this without you." Sarah stepped forward, her eyes glistening with tears. "You gave Clara a voice when she needed it most. You helped her find peace, and in turn, I think we all found a bit of our own." As we began to gather the remnants of the ceremony, I felt a sense of unity among us, a shared understanding that we were all connected by love and loss. Clara's spirit had taught me that even in the face of sorrow, there was always hope for healing and redemption. Let's celebrate her life, I suggested, my heart swelling with gratitude. Let's remember the love she shared with Thomas and carry that light forward. My friends nodded, and as we began to reminisce about the memories we had of Clara, I felt the room fill with warmth and laughter. Clara may have left this world, but her spirit would always be a part of us, guiding us as we navigated our own lives, reminding us to love deeply and cherish every moment. As the last flicker of the candlelight danced against the walls of the old house, I felt an unprecedented sense of peace washing over me. The air was still, and the weight that had lingered for so long had finally begun to lift. My guests were engaged in conversation, sharing stories of their own love and loss, their voices mingling in a comforting symphony. I stood at the center of the room, surrounded by friends and family, each one of them a thread woven into the fabric of my life, and I realized how profoundly I had changed in these last few weeks. After Clara's liberation, I felt a strange sense of clarity. The emotions I had carried for so long, those of isolation and sadness, were dissipating like fog under the morning sun. I looked around the room, seeing familiar faces, some smiling, some teary-eyed, yet all united by a shared connection. The ceremony had not just been for Clara. It had been a catharsis for all of us, a moment where grief transformed into gratitude. My gaze landed on Mia, a childhood friend who had always been there. Yet somehow, through the chaos of life, we had drifted apart. She stood by the window, her silhouette framed by the soft glow of twilight, and I felt a tug at my heart. I had always admired her strength, her unwavering support through my ups and downs. But tonight, she seemed different, as if something in her had shifted too. "Mia," I called softly, wanting to pull her from her reverie. She turned, her hazel eyes sparkling with an emotion I couldn't quite place. "Hey," she replied, her voice warm yet laced with a hint of vulnerability. "That was beautiful. You really honored Clara." "Thank you," I said, stepping closer. "It felt right, you know? Like we were all part of something bigger." "Exactly," she said, a smile breaking through her initial solemnity. "I've never felt so connected to everyone before. It's like we've all been carrying our own burdens, and tonight we finally let them go." My heart raced. "Mia, I didn't realize how much I missed us." "Me too," she admitted, her gaze dropping for a moment. "Life got in the way, didn't it? We used to be inseparable." "Yeah, we did," I said, feeling a swell of nostalgia. "Remember those summer nights when we'd sit on the roof and talk about our dreams?" "Of course," she chuckled softly. "And you always wanted to travel the world while I wanted to settle down in a cozy little house with a garden. Things change, don't they?" I mused, my eyes drifting to the flickering candle flames. "But I think we can still find a way to make our dreams meet." Mia's expression turned serious as she met my gaze. "What do you mean?" "I mean, after everything that's happened, after helping Clara, I feel like I'm ready to embrace life fully again. I've been avoiding my own happiness for too long. I want to reconnect with people, especially with you." Her eyes widened slightly, and I could see the flicker of hope dancing within them. "I'd like that. I've missed you more than I realized." As the warmth of our conversation enveloped us, I caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of my eye. Jasper, my ever-watchful companion, slid through the gathering, his green eyes glinting in the dim light. He paused in front of us, seemingly sensing the shift in our energy. "Mia, look at him," I said, bending down to scratch Jasper behind the ears. "He's always been the one to guide me through the darkness. Maybe he's trying to guide us now," she replied, a playful smile curling her lips. "I think he wants us to follow him." "Should we?" I asked, half joking, but my heart raced at the thought of what it might mean. "Why not?" she said, her enthusiasm contagious. "Let's see where he leads us." We both laughed as we followed Jasper, who seemed to know exactly where he was going. He trotted down the hallway, tail held high, as if he were our guide on a grand adventure. We reached the living room, where the remnants of the ceremony still lingered. The flickering candles, the delicate flowers, and the warmth of shared memories. "Do you think Clara is really gone?" Mia asked, her voice suddenly serious as she glanced around the room. "I believe she has finally found peace," I said, my tone reflective. "But I also think she will always be a part of us." Her story reminded me of the importance of love and connection. Mia nodded, her expression thoughtful. "It's amazing how someone we never knew can impact our lives so deeply." "Yeah," I replied, feeling the weight of my own realizations. "It makes me think about how we often take our relationships for granted." As we spoke, the atmosphere shifted subtly. A gentle breeze swept through the house, sending a chill down my spine, but it wasn't a coldness of fear. It felt more like a comforting embrace. I glanced at Mia, who seemed to feel it too, her eyes reflecting a mix of wonder and uncertainty. "Do you think?" she began, but her voice trailed off. "I do," I said, suddenly confident. "I think Clara is here with us right now, encouraging us to move forward." Mia's smile returned, radiant and hopeful. "Let's make a pact, then. We won't let life get in the way again. We'll keep each other grounded." "Deal," I said, extending my pinky. She linked hers with mine, sealing our promise with a playful grin. As we stood there, a sense of belonging enveloped me. It was as if Clara's spirit had woven our fates together, urging us to reconnect. My heart swelled with gratitude for the journey I had undertaken and for the unexpected gift of rekindling my bond with Mia. "Let's go outside," she suggested, looking out the window where the stars twinkled against the deepening night sky. "I want to show you something." Curiosity piqued. I followed her to the back garden. The cool night air brushed against my skin, invigorating and refreshing. The moon hung low, casting its silvery glow over everything, and for a moment, it felt as if the world had paused just for us. "What did you want to show me?" I asked, glancing around. "Look," she said, pointing to an old oak tree that stood proudly in the corner of the yard. "Do you see the swing?" I did. It was a weathered swing, hanging from a sturdy branch, swaying gently in the breeze. "We used to play on that swing all the time," I said, memories flooding back. "I haven't seen it in years. I've kept it here, hoping we'd have moments like this again," she said softly. "Let's swing together, just like old times." With a laugh, I climbed onto the swing, and she joined me. As we started to sway back and forth, the laughter and joy bubbled up inside me like a long dormant fountain. "This is amazing," I exclaimed, feeling the gentle push of air against my face. "I forgot how freeing it feels. Just like life," Mia said, her voice melodic against the night. "Sometimes, we just need to let go and enjoy the ride." As we swung higher, I felt the burdens of my past lifting. The darkness I had carried for so long was being replaced with light. Light I had almost forgotten existed. "Mia," I said, pausing mid-swing, "I want you to know how much you mean to me. You've always been my anchor." She turned to me, her expression earnest. "And you've been mine. I've missed having you in my life. It's like we were both waiting for something to happen to bring us back together. Maybe it took Clara's story for us to realize what we had," I said, a smile spreading across my face. "I think she would be happy knowing she helped us find each other again." "I believe that," she said, her eyes sparkling. "And I promise to be here for you, no matter what." As we swung in harmony, I felt the presence of Clara linger in the air, a gentle reminder of love and connection. The night felt alive, pulsating with the energy of new beginnings. No more drifting apart, I vowed, my heart swelling with determination. "From now on, we stick together." "Absolutely," Mia agreed, her laughter ringing out like music. "Let's make new memories, ones we won't forget." As we continued to swing under the starlit sky, I felt a warmth envelop my heart. I could almost hear Clara's whispers of encouragement, guiding us forward into the unknown. I knew this was just the beginning of a renewed chapter, one filled with friendship, love, and endless possibilities. With Mia by my side, I was ready to embrace whatever came next, to cherish the connections that mattered most, and to honor the legacy of Clara and Thomas as we forged our own paths. As the final echoes of the ceremony faded into the night, I found comfort in the knowledge that I was no longer alone. I was surrounded by those who loved me and by the spirit of a love that transcended time. As I glanced at Mia, her laughter mixing with the wind, I couldn't help but smile, ready to step into the future, hand in hand, with the promise of new beginnings sparkling in our eyes.